Now let's take a quick look at Syria before the time gets to be too short. Some really interesting things here. We have this wiretapping of Davutoglu. This is published on the RT website today. It looks like the Russians have got some great phone tapping operations. They seem to have cracked the cell phone code, and of course we're going to forgive them all their posturing about how great Snowden is and how governments should not tap phones. You go ahead and tap these phones. What they say is a Turkish general says, we got to attack Syria. I'll make up a cause for war by ordering a missile attack on Turkey. In other words, he says, this is Hakan Fidan, I'll send 4 minutes to Syria. I'll make up a cause of war by ordering a missile attack on Turkey, and then we'll have a pretext to go to war. And you've got the foreign minister, Davutoglu, in these conversations. Resign. Back in a minute. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So, you've got to look at this complete transcript of the Turkish generals and foreign minister Davutoglu, who now is exposed as a complete fool. I must say, it was not obvious to me at the beginning what an idiot this guy is. And they're talking about the usual stuff, right? False flag provocations. Don't hold your breath. NBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, not likely to have it. So the idea is, it looks like they've also been guilty of setting off bombs in Turkey, trying to blame this on Syria, right? They shot down a Syrian plane the other day. Turkish officials conspiring to stage an attack on Syria to provoke a wider war. And this is why our dear friend, lightheaded Recep Erdogan, or Erdogan as it's written, for us in the West, he's trying to shut down Twitter and trying to shut down large parts of the Internet because his infamy is now on display. And this poor guy, this villain, is someone who was conned into this by his nighttime friend, Obama, who would call him and whisper in his ear that he would be the new caliph and the new ruler of that tremendous region. So we've got a lot of anger among the neocons about Syria. We've got Robert Kagan, who is, of course, the hubby of foul-mouthed Victoria Nuland, the brother of Field Marshal Kagan and Kim Kagan, who were the groupies of Petraeus and presumably involved in the planning of whatever stunt Petraeus was going to pull, perhaps under the cover of Benghazi. If you want to learn about Benghazi, put these characters on the stand along with Petraeus. But Robert Kagan says Obama is guilty of giving Americans what they want. They want to stay out of Syria, stay out of Ukraine, but he says the Americans are actually ashamed of not intervening. He's giving Americans what they want, but not something they will thank him for. To follow a leader to triumph inspires loyalty, gratitude, and affection. Following a leader in retreat inspires no such emotions. What a load of garbage. And that is, one dead GI is not worth all the hot air of all these disgusting neocons. So they just have no shame, right? They never change. Krauthammer, similarly today, right? Krauthammer also freaking out. Obama's a weakling. The U.S. is in retreat. It's either going to be U.S. leadership chaos or domination by Russia and China. Can you imagine returning to a mode of world leadership which is not based on bluster, aggression, and intimidation, but on real world economic development? In other words, the spirit of the Marshall Plan. Evidently, Krauthammer can't. So we also got George Will. They're all absolutely up in arms. Concerning the Washington Post, this is embarrassing. On March 3rd, the Washington Post published an article called Ukraine Will Fight. You read it, Ukraine Will Fight. And this was signed by William Taylor, Stephen Piffer, John Herbst. These are ex-U.S. ambassadors to Ukraine. And we've also got Roman Papaduic and William Green Miller also contributed to the articles. We got 5 U.S. ambassadors to Ukraine, and they've all got egg all over their faces because they said about a month ago, Ukraine will fight. Well, Ukraine didn't fight, did it, guys? You're going to publish an apology to the public. Also in the diplomatic correspondence, we have the current foreign minister of Ukraine, right, the public face of the fascist regime, Andrei Deshitsia. I'm sorry, that's his name, Andrei Deshitsia. Reject Russia's Anschluss. Oh, getting nasty, huh? The last line, the party line at the end, of course. The rest of the world will sleep better at night knowing that the new international reality doesn't depend on any whims of more Hitler impersonators. Well, my question to Minister Deshitsia, who Hitler? Who Hitler? Who you calling Hitler? You are the front man for Muzichko, the late Muzichko, Yarosh, Tyanibok, Tarashenko, and the rest of these monsters, and you're talking about somebody in Moscow being the new Hitler? Boy, you are off the wall. Now, we want to congratulate General Sisi for his campaign to become president of Egypt. We would recommend that he get an economic program. I don't think there are going to be all these executions. Obviously, he's paid by the Saudis. That's protection money that he's getting from the Saudis. Doesn't mean the Saudis control what he does. They're afraid of the Muslim Brotherhood. Barkey is in Saudi Arabia today, groveling. The American people are sick of these monstrous Gulf monarchies. We don't want them. However, this notion about oil, right, that the U.S. is going to be energy independent, the shale oil boom is temporary. It is a backward form of energy. It is really a blind alley. You put all your eggs into that basket, right, of shale oil, then within a couple of years it's gone. And what have you got? You're in big trouble. We need fission today, 4th generation high temperature pebble bed nuclear reactors, 100 new ones immediately. And we need fusion. We need ITER, which is under the leadership of the eminent Russian physicist Velikhov, that people may remember from somebody who's been fighting for fusion energy for decades and decades. Now, we've got the Koch brothers attacking Obamacare. This is actually interesting. The deadline for Obamacare, right, coming up now at the end of the month. And there's an extension if you need it. And, of course, these right-wing fascists, and any change, I would make more changes just to jerk them around, to get them, because somehow at a certain point, even the dumbest American will begin to see through this, right? Any change, they come on and whine and complain and yammer. So fine. So now there's an extension, right? Let's look at the quality of the propaganda on this. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, here we go. Neocon of the Washington Post, Michael Gerson, was a speechwriter for Bush. So he says, look, in my March 21st column on the potential impact of Obamacare during the next election, I wrote that health care premiums in Iowa were expected to rise by 100%. I was unaware that the source I relied on, which called the prediction recent, was actually describing a prediction that was a year old. Rates apparently are not now expected to rise nearly as much. Too bad if you died, huh? Too bad if that scared you off and you didn't get any health care. So I would urge people, look into it, right? Go on the site, see what kind of a subsidy you can get. If there's a subsidy available to you and you don't get it, you're a fool. And if you do that for the greater glory of the Austrian school, You can use that to comfort yourself when you're on your deathbed if you turn away from medical science and turn away from the possibilities of getting health care. So check it out. Maybe it's good for you. Maybe it's not. I suspect for a lot of people it's going to be, on the whole, quite a good deal. Now, there's a lot of lying, right? There's this question of this woman with leukemia, and the Koch brothers have a nationwide campaign, and it's all based on lies, right? This is a woman who's lying about her situation. She's obviously she's distraught. She's very sick, but unfortunately, other people don't need to die because of her venality. We're told that the Koch brothers are not simply interested in attacking the Affordable Care Act. They're trying to present the law as a case study in government ineptitude to change the way voters think about the role of government for years to come. This is inadmissible. The Koch brothers want a weak state. They want a failed state. These fascist brothers have to be defeated, and the way to do that is pursue your own enlightened self-interest. Take a look at the Obamacare website, and if you've got a good subsidy, grab it and get yourself some health insurance. Back next week on World Crisis Radio.